Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be covering something that I think is really important, and that is how you can use productivity techniques to manage stress and overwhelm whilst at work. We've all been there. It's inevitable that at some point you will experience some level of overwhelm and stress at work because it's related to basically your time being stretched too thin or overcommitting on a particular activity. So this is going to happen at certain points, but it really becomes a problem when it becomes the norm in your everyday life. You shouldn't be experiencing that much stress and that much overwhelm on a daily basis. And over-indexing in one area of your life, like work, it can really cause a lot of issues in other areas of your life, like your physical health, your mental health, your relationships, your hobbies, and sort of downtime outside of work, and just your general mood. And so in this video, I'm going to be covering some of the techniques that I personally use in order to help manage that overwhelm and that stress at work and help to keep it at bay as much as I can. So the great thing about these techniques is that they can pretty much be implemented by anyone in any job type. It's not specific to tech. This is more about our mental well-being and our mental health and managing stress at work. The first tip is to practice saying no. And what this will do is it will help you to protect your time so that you can use it on the things which are the most important and the most impactful in your daily life. It's really easy to get consumed in all of the other things that are happening at work that you think you should be involved in or other people think you should be involved in. And what this does is it just pulls your attention in multiple directions, and it doesn't allow you to focus on the things which are most important and probably what you're being measured on at work. And what we really need to do is to understand when a request comes in, why is it personally me that should be working on this? What exactly do you need from me? Why is it my skill set? Is there somebody else that can help you? Is there another resource out there? A blog post or a white paper or something that can help give you, 80% of the information you may need from me. And then I'm happy to help on the remaining 20%. But what are the ways that you can gently push back, without being rude or without being sort of disruptive, but in a way that helps you protect your time and helps the other person get what they need. So an example of this could be somebody asks you for some help on a project, and it's not your particular area, but you kind of feel that you should help. What you should really be doing here is saying, look, I'm really sorry. I either can't help or I don't have time to help at the minute. I'll see if there's someone else in my team that can help, or you can go ahead and reach out to this person and they may be able to help you more than I can. And what this does is it allows you to fill your diary with impactful and meaningful work instead of sort of meetings and projects which don't really push you in the direction that you want to go, or that you even need to be a part of. The second thing is to manage the expectations of what you will be doing with everybody else involved and make sure you understand what everybody else will be doing. So these types of questions include how long do you expect me to be involved for? What sort of level of activity am I expected to do? What are the outcomes that you need from me? So let's say, for example, somebody asks you to help review something that they've written. They may be expecting that you review it and you are then a co-contributor in revisions of that document going forward. But to you, what that sounds like is, I'll just do a review, tell you if it's good or not, the areas of where I can improve, and then that's my job done. And here there's a communication mismatch. And so what you really want to do at the beginning of any project is understand what the commitment is on your side so that you can plan your day and your week accordingly to allow you to deliver whatever needs to be delivered. The third thing is to focus on the most impactful or the most important ideas first. Now, if you have a big project or a number of big projects going on, it can really be quite difficult to understand where you should begin and how you should start tackling tasks. And what often happens is that we start working on the tasks which we think we can tick off quickly, and this makes us feel good. But the problem here is that you're not actually making that much of a dent in the overall project that you're trying to deliver. So a really common way that people break down big tasks or ideas is through the use of a to-do list. But the to-do list has two big problems. One, it continually grows, and so it's rare that you ever actually get to the end of it. And two, there's no real way of prioritization within the list. So I don't know if task number 1 is more or less important than task number 17. Or is it more or less important than task number 32 that I've just added in? So what I like to use is a variation of the to-do list, and this is a must-do and a might-do list. And so effectively, you take your piece of paper or whatever software that you're using, and you create a must-do list and a might-do list. And in the must-do are the top 3 to 5 non-negotiable items that you need to get done today or this week. And these are the real, big items that are going to move the needle on the project that you're working on. Or they're the big blockers that without doing this piece, several other people can't move forward with their work. And all the rest of your work goes in that might-do list. These are the nice-to-haves. These are the, if I get time later on this week, I will take a look at my might-do list and I'll start ticking things off from there. And what this really helps you do is to create a natural boundary on the things you should be working on. You're removing all of that overwhelm you have on, I have 45 tasks to do, and you're focusing your attention on the top 5 that are going to be the most impactful. The other really great benefit of using the must-do list and the might-do list is it creates a really nice separation of when you are done for the day. So let's say we've got a to-do list and it comes to the end of your working day and you've got a number of other tasks still left on there. You probably think, I can, sacrifice a few hours of my evening and just make some more progress on these to-do items. When you have the must-do and the might-do list, once you've completed all the tasks on your must-do list for the day, that's it, you're done. You've completed the big ticket items, you've delivered what you set out to do, and now anything from the might-do list that you may choose to work on for the remainder of your day are just benefits. And so when it comes to the end of your working day, whatever time that might be, you can say, I finished all my goals for the day, anything else I've done today is extra, and so it's time for me to log off and switch off and kind of focus my attention on the piece outside of work. The fourth tip is to make your diary work for you. We all revolve around our calendars. They are a visual reminder of how we are spending our time and what we'll be working on over the next week or over the next month. And so it's really important to keep your diary up to date and to ensure that you are consciously planning the things that you're working on and being intentional with how you're spending your time. So, for example, you may put in a block that says, I will be spending 1 hour on this task. And that is a reflection of your goals and what you are setting out to achieve in the longer term. So what I do is every Friday afternoon, I only spend sort of 10-15 minutes kind of going through my diary for the next week, clearing out anything that's not in there or any meetings or anything that I don't need to attend. And then I start looking at what tasks I need to complete. The next thing I do is I block in and I allocate time for me to go ahead and complete those tasks. And this does two things. One is it helps me to mentally prepare what it is I'm going to be working on the next week. And two, it makes me know that I have enough time next week, or I've allocated enough time next week in order for me to achieve all of my goals and all of my work. The reason I did this on a Friday afternoon rather than a Monday morning is because Monday morning, it's a new week, it's a fresh start, and what you really want to be doing is just diving straight in to the work you should be doing and the things that are most impactful. On a Friday afternoon, you're kind of winding down, and so it's a great time for you to reflect what you will be doing. Reflect not only on what you've done this week, but what you need to be doing in the following week. And so this means on Monday morning, you don't waste any time in kind of thinking about, what did I work on last week, and what do I need to work on this week, and how do I plan this out, etc. It's all ready for you and ready to go. So I highly recommend you do this on a Friday afternoon rather than a Monday morning. And the reason this is so impactful is because you are making a conscious plan of when you will actually do these items. If you kind of just think, yep, I've got to do that task, I've got to do that thing, but you never actually allocate any time for it, then it's really likely that either that will slip behind or you're just going to forget to do it. And this doesn't need to be limited to just work items. You can put things like focused work time, study time, you're going to the gym, date nights that you might have, you're meeting up with friends, lunch breaks, anything like that. Yeah, put it in your diary and make time for it. So the University of California conducted a study where they found that on average it takes 23 minutes after being distracted to get your focus back onto the task you're originally meant to be working on. So let's take an example of this. You get a text message from a friend saying that they want to meet for dinner. You then exchange some dates when you're both free. You exchange some times of when you're free. You exchange ideas of where to go. Are you going to be traveling into town or are you going to be going somewhere local? You then need to agree on a cuisine to eat, and then you go online and you start looking for places where you can go for a particular cuisine that have a booking available, that has good reviews, that suits dietary requirements for everyone. And what you're really doing is just off of one text message, you've gone down a spiral of thoughts or spiral of other activities which are taking your focus away from the task in hand. And so I really want to break this section down into two elements. The first is to actually reduce the amount of noise and distractions that you allow to come to you. And the number one culprit is your mobile phone. Now, when application designers are building these applications, they use a lot of psychological techniques to hook you in and ensure you spend as much time on the app as possible. The more time you spend on the app, the more successful it is and the more likely you are, or the more you are using it. And so the most common way that they do this is through a push notification. And we all know what a push notification is. It's when an event happens, someone texts you, you get a notification on your screen saying, this has happened, look at me. And so what we really want to be doing is limiting that and reducing that as much as possible, because it takes away your focus from any task you're working on. The second part of this is how we actually break down our time when we've got that focus time. So we've removed the distractions, and how do we actually sit down and break down the time to make sure that you can actually focus for that entire time. It's really hard to sit down and say for 2 hours, I'm going to be working on a task for 2 hours consistently. I'm not getting up, I'm not taking any breaks. It's really tough. Your concentration span isn't designed to focus on something for 2 hours. Well, at least mine isn't. So how can we implement these two ideas? How do we create those little pockets of time which are do not disturb, where you have no distractions and you can do deep focused work? So the first part of this, as I mentioned, is limiting your distractions. Now I'm going to start off with distractions which are non-work related. So this is basically anything that is not to do with work, it's outside in an external environment. And I'm going to focus on the phone because it's so easy when you get bored or you start running into problems or something that's a little bit difficult to distract your brain with scrolling Twitter or scrolling on Instagram. And if you're an iPhone user, and I'm sure Android users have this as well, there is a screen time functionality where you can check how much you're actually picking up your phone in a given day or how many notifications come into your phone. And for me, the notifications are well above 200 on an average day. And in general, I pick up my phone over 60 times a day, which is a huge amount. Now, obviously, some of those are for checking things or intentionally I pick it up. But often it's just picking your phone up out of habit, opening up Twitter or Instagram and starting to scroll it just because that's kind of been wired into your brain. And we really want to break that cycle. And the easiest way to do this is just leave your phone in another room and put it on Do Not Disturb for short periods of time where you really need to focus. Now, there are, of course, other distractions apart from the phone. We're all working from home these days. You probably have a doorbell ringing or something for a delivery. Those things, you can't avoid them, so you just got to deal with them. But anything in your control, try and reduce the amount of distractions. Now, that's not to say that work distractions don't also come in. Things like email and Slack are huge distractors to your time. I gave the example of meeting up with a friend for a reservation. What about someone emailing you and asking you to review something? Now, in most cases, when people send you an email or a Slack message or any type of instant message, whatever it is, those things typically aren't urgent. But because it's called instant messaging, there's a perception or expectation that you reply instantly. So I'm doing a piece of work, someone sends me a message saying, hey, can you just review this quickly? Sure, I can review that, just not right now, right? Unless it's absolutely urgent and you need me to get it done, I'm going to schedule some time in my diary to help review that for you. I'm not going to take my time right now and focus away from what I had planned to do in order to review that for you. And, this really does come down to your work culture, but I feel more companies are coming around to the idea of we don't need to be available all the time and anywhere, and that there are times that we need to just kind of put your head down and focus on a piece of work. There are times where I will just intentionally shut down my email and I'm not going to be checking my email, and I will mute my Slack messages. And what I will do is I'll just put a status on there saying, like focused work and notifications paused. If you really need to contact me, just at me and Slack will notify me if it's urgent. But otherwise, I'm limiting my distractions from email and from Slack. So don't be afraid to try this out, to raise this in your team meetings of, is this okay? Is this something we can trial out to help give people time where they can focus? So the next thing is about creating focused time and using that focused time effectively. So let's say I'm going to spend 2 hours this afternoon trying to get a piece of work done. It's really, really tough, as I mentioned, to sit down for 2 hours and just focus on that. And so another really common technique I use is the Pomodoro method. If you haven't heard of this, it's where you work in 25-minute increments and then you take a short 5-minute break and then you repeat this 4 times. And after 4 times, you take a longer 25 or 30-minute break. So you've got a 2-hour deep work slot with small incremental breaks throughout, and then you've got a longer break that you can look forward to. And what this does is it really helps you to focus for those 25 minutes and then to refresh your brain a little bit and then focus again for 25 minutes. And the idea of having that short 5-minute break rather than a 15-minute break is it helps you to stay in that focus mode. But it's also allowing you just enough time to refresh your brain, to grab a coffee, get some water, go for a snack, go outside and get some, go outside and open your window, stick your head out the window, do like 5 minutes of reading, just something to help refresh your brain and reset it from the task you were working on. What I really try and not do is check my phone during those 5 minutes, because again, your phone is a trap. You'll have notifications, you'll start checking them, and the next thing you know, your break's been 10, 15, 20 minutes rather than the 5 minutes allocated. So try and do things which are away from a screen and which help sort of rejuvenate your brain again. A side benefit that I've typically found is that I can concentrate for much longer periods now because I'm not allowing my brain to swap between sort of mindless tasks like checking my email or checking Twitter, and I'm forcing my brain to focus and kind of hone in on a problem that I'm working on. And what this has done is, even when I'm reading outside of work, so like leisure type of reading, I can read for much longer, I can focus for much longer without always feeling the need to go ahead and check my phone. There were times where I'd be watching a film or watching TV, and at the same time, I'm scrolling my phone because I can't focus. It sounds silly, but I can't focus on the film for extended periods of time. And implementing this method and getting rid of my phone when I'm working, and actually I've even deleted a lot of these apps off my phone, has helped to really strengthen my concentration and improve my focus when I'm working on tasks. So these are just some of the methods that I use in my daily life to help manage my time, which in turn helps manage my stress and my overwhelm. These techniques allow me to have good visibility of what I'm going to be working on. They allow me to create the time to work on those things, and they allow me to remove my distractions so I can work on those things effectively. I hope this video has been really helpful to you. If it has, please do check out some of my other videos on my channel around tech, around careers in tech and general productivity. And if you feel that these videos have helped you, please consider dropping a like on this video and subscribing to the channel.